Hello, and welcome back to the Recap Central. Today we'll be recapping and providing some facts about Donnie Darko, a 2001 sci-fi fantasy film directed by Richard Kelly. Let's get started. Donnie Darko, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, is a troubled adolescent living in a tough part of Maryland with his family. After quitting his medication, the violent schizophrenia has returned, and he now sleepwalks. Other people are worried about him, including Rose, played by Mary McDonnell, and Eddie, who is played by Holmes Osborne, as well as Elizabeth, Maggie Gyllenhaal, and Samantha, David Chase. Donnie and his sister Elizabeth argue over dinner one night, and Elizabeth says she knows Donnie has stopped taking his meds. Donnie calls Rose a bitch when she enters his room. After he was found guilty, Donnie began taking his medication again. However, on October 2nd, he sleepwalks and comes into Frank, a man disguised as a frightful bunny. His buddy Frank assures him that the world will end in exactly 28 days, 6 hours, 42 minutes, and 2 seconds from right now. The following night, a jet engine crashes through the Darko ceiling, destroying Donnie's room. Unless he was sleepwalking when the accident occurred, he would have died. Donnie and Eddie almost ran over Grandma Death, Roberta Sparrow, on their way to Donnie's therapist's office. The last thing Grandma Death tells Donnie is that everything that lives eventually goes alone when she's walking from her house to the mailbox across the street. Donnie doesn't care about Grandma Death. Donnie, a cynic who thinks life has no meaning, is disturbed. A few days later, Donnie has a dream in which Frank tells him to use an axe to break open the water main in the private high school he attends. The school's solid bronze mascot gets an axe carved into it, and the words "they forced me to do it" are spray-painted across the walkway. Donnie was compelled to walk Gretchen, played by Gina Malone, home from school that day after being relieved from the harassment made towards her by Ricky, played by Seth Rogen. She alleges that her stepfather was involved in her mother's attempted assassination and is still on the loose. Donnie opens up about his difficult upbringing as well as his bright mind. Donnie appeals to Gretchen because he is eccentric. Afterward, Gretchen heads home. Donnie has a tough working relationship with his high school teachers. When it comes to English class, Ms. Pomeroy, Drew Barrymore, values the students' capacity to interact and understand the challenging material she assigns them. Kitty Farmer's anti-Miss Pomeroy's protest results in a more conservative ambience at school afterward. Young boys flood and destroy a man's house in Graham Greene's story of the same name. Donnie sees Frank a lot, and he tells him that they can get away with anything since they won't get caught. Additionally, Frank informs Donnie that he can travel through time, which just adds to his confusion. While Mr. Monatoff, Noah Weil, the science teacher, finds him a touch disconcerting. Health instructor Kitty Farmer, Beth Grant, the high-strung and socially conservative one, find it offensive that he criticizes her use of self-help CD in class. Donnie sees his family's chests filling with tubes of fluid light, signifying their destination. When he enters his father's room, the tube beckons him to follow it, showing a gun hidden in a box in the closet. Donnie and Mr. Monatoff chat about time travel in The Philosophy of Time Travel by Roberta Sparrow. Before that, she was both a nun and an English teacher in a high school. Apart from that, Mr. Monatoff, Miss Pomeroy's former boyfriend, likewise refuses to address Donnie's questions concerning time travel if they take on a theological tone. Let's take a moment for our segment 3 Facts Recaps. Let's get started. Number 1, 28 days, which, by the way, is the same amount of time that passes during the film's storyline, from the jet engine landing in Donnie's bedroom to the closing scene, which also concludes in the same way. Kelly, on the other hand, maintains that the 28-day motif was purely coincidental. Number 2, Kelly was given permission by Sam Raimi to utilize footage from The Evil Dead for free. Originally, the picture that Donnie and Gretchen see in the theater was supposed to be Douglas Creek's 1984 sci-fi/horror chud. However, securing the rights proved very time-consuming for the film's short filming schedule, so Drew Barrymore came to the aid yet again and phoned Sam Raimi, who held the rights to The Evil Dead and promised to allow them borrow material from the film for free. Number 3. Seth Rogen's first appearance on the big screen. Before Seth Rogen was a big name in the industry, he appeared in Donnie Darko for his first ever appearance on the big screen, and his first line was "I like your boobs." That about wraps up 3 facts recaps. Let's go back to the video. Donnie and Gretchen begin to feel attracted to one another romantically. Donnie and Gretchen go to a terrifying movie one night. Frank appears after Gretchen has gone to sleep. When Donnie asks Frank to remove his rabbit costume, Frank asks Donnie to remove his human suit, then complies and removes the head, showing a young adult with a terrible wound in his right eye. The only thing Frank says to Donnie when he asks where the eye wound came from is, "I'm sorry," before directing Donnie's attention to the movie screen. The house of Jim Cunningham can be seen via a doorway. Frank gives Donnie the order to set it on fire. Despite Gretchen being sound asleep in the movie, Donnie follows through with Frank's plan to the end. After he escapes, firefighters discover an underage porn dungeon in a hidden room of the mansion. Kitty Farmer, a close friend and admirer of Cunningham's, believes she must take the lead in his defense and urges Rose to go to Los Angeles with the school's dance team, Sparkle Motion, to compete on Star Search. Rose agrees to be Samantha's sidekick in Sparkle Motion because she is the company's main performer. Eddie has to go out of town on business, so Elizabeth and Donnie are left to fend for themselves. Donnie and Elizabeth are overjoyed that Elizabeth has been accepted to Harvard, so they decide to throw a Halloween party to commemorate the occasion. Because Gretchen's mother has vanished, Donnie's house becomes a safe haven on the night of the party, October 30. The two make out while Donnie soothes her, and Rose calls to announce that Sparkle Motion won their first Star Search competition, and that they will return that night on a red-eye trip. Greenwald and Seth Rogen. Frank, James Duval, Elizabeth's boyfriend, is driving to their Halloween party when he hits Gretchen, knocking her out cold and killing her instantly. Donnie's crazy alter ego, Frank the Bunny, is dressed in the same creepy bunny outfit as Frank. Due to his vengeance for Gretchen's death, Donnie shoots Frank in the right eye with his father's handgun. He steals Gretchen's car keys from Elizabeth while she's fast asleep and drives her into the hills above town. As seen from Donnie's perch, a time tunnel is forming above the town. The engine crashes into the time tunnel when the red-eye plane carries Rose and Sparkle Motion, nears the turbulence in the time tunnel. Donnie drives into the time portal while gazing lovingly at Gretchen, whom he kisses on the cheek. Donnie is resting on his bed, happy and smiling. On October 30, just as he was about to go off to sleep, the Midnight Flight's jet engine bursts through the roof, killing him instantly. Many people in town, including Dr. Thurman, Mr. Monatoff, Kitty Farmer, Jim Cunningham, and Frank, are suddenly concerned and unhappy. When Gretchen gets up the next day, she rides her bike over to the Darko's residence to say hello, even as Samantha and Eddie stare in horror as Donnie's body is exhumed. Rose smokes a nearby cigarette, as though she's still trying to process what she just witnessed in Donnie's bedroom as her final meeting with her troubled son. Having never met Donnie before, her heart wounded, she tenderly waves goodbye to Rose,